Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start.
Okay.
Are we recording?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to And That's Why We're Not Together, starring David McSavage and Hannah Andrews.
And the young princes, Jake and Daniel. Someday Gondor will be yours. You just have to prove yourself on the field of battle. Do you feel brave, guys?
Yes.
Are you ready to go and
What?
march?
Big time?
Big time.
Jake's ready to go. Just a little housekeeping. Hannah put that little beauty spot there. It doesn't actually exist in real life.
It does.
It doesn't.
I just
I want people to know that you're a facial liar. You're a facial liar.
Okay.
You're
That's what women do.
Can you put a beauty spot, please, on my thing?
Yeah, they put makeup, false eyelashes.
Yeah, you maybe go to a skin special. Can you put what? Hannah's going to put a beauty spot on my. Jake is finally back. We missed him very much for the 2
Jesus.
It looks like a fucking cancer spot.
Well, you have to be a woman.
Jake was away for 2 weeks and he was missed. It didn't feel the same, and but he walked from Cabra to here today. The hero's journey. It took him many hours. He had to swim through rivers and he fought with people to get to Portobello.
Yeah, I had to go through O'Connell Street,
O'Connell
fight
Street.
off a lot of junkies and...
Hannah,
No, there
for
are
God's sake.
junkies on O'Connell Street. I'm
We don't
sorry.
like to call people junkies. We like to call people
What,
challenged.
drug addict?
No, we like to call them...
Socially challenged.
we like to call them chemical engineers. Like the most socially loving. We like to call them chemical experimenters.
Yeah, Better Call Saul, huh?
Huh?
Better Call Saul.
Okay, can you just explain to people...
That's the title of the series, where Saul is the guy who knows how to get the best stuff. He's... No, Daniel's rescuing.
It's Breaking Bad.
What about Better Call Saul?
He's the lawyer. He's a lawyer that gets into all sorts. But Walter White is the guy who makes the meth.
But on Better Call Saul as well.
Better Call Saul was a character from which TV show?
Breaking Bad.
Oh, so he got his own series.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, no, but the stuff that you're talking about is from Breaking Bad, where they manufacture all kinds of drugs and
substances.
We
don't call them
methamphetamine.
And Demi Moore should have won for being in The Substance, for God's sake, in the Oscars.
Yeah, she was definitely better.
So when Hannah came in first, she just went straight to the kitchen and basically ate food for about 10 minutes.
That's not a very long time.
Yeah. So Jake, everything, what have you been doing? What have you been doing for the past 2 weeks? What the hell?
Yeah, I suppose I feel like I'm leading a bit of a double life.
Go on.
I've been away for so long,
Yeah, you have been leading a double life. What have you been doing? That's what the public needs to know. Has anybody recognised you from the podcast?
Loads, yes. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, a load of security.
Shut up. Has anyone?
No, well, I have friends that watch it. So
yeah, but has anyone that, from the public?
The public, no. The public, I know.
Fuck's sake.
Or maybe because Irish public is they don't want to show that they know you.
Yeah. Well, also we have a small viewership, Hannah.
Yes, as well. You're
but
not that famous.
We're building. If our podcast was like a house, it was slowly building, and we were getting, and now it's slowly unbuilding a little bit. But that's the cut and thrust of doing anything. And just because you're failing a little bit doesn't mean you should not continue.
I think you shouldn't call it failing. You should call it challenges.
Yeah, like drug addicts.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. And we're all going to meet up. The whole family, the Andrews family, is going to meet up because it's my father's 90th birthday this weekend, Jake. Hannah, you're coming as well?
Yes, I'm popping in.
No, you're coming. I need you there.
Why? Because your father doesn't like you? I don't know. That's what you said. You know, I'm like a buffer zone.
Emotional support, Hannah.
Thank you, Jake. Emotional support.
That's a politically correct way.
No, it's exactly the correct way to describe your role.
Since when I have this role? Forever.
With your beauty spot.
Yeah.
Why there in particular?
A beauty spot?
Yeah, why did you place it there?
Oh, I do have a beauty spot, but it's very, faded. It's not really strong, so I'm accentuating.
Faded like your dreams.
Yeah, I still have dreams, and I don't let them fade.
There's nothing wrong with having dreams. You have to just pick the right one.
Yes.
So we're going to meet up with... it's his 90th birthday. What have you got him for his birthday?
Nothing. I hope you're gonna get him.
Daniel,
something.
what about you? What have you got going to get Grandad?
Pending still on that.
Okay. What about you, Jake? What have you have you got him anything, Grandad?
Yeah, well, I've decided to get him. So I'm gonna get Granny and Grandad something.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get Grandad a congratulations card.
Right.
Stick a few scratch cards in.
Scratch cards.
And then I'm gonna get.
Could you imagine if you won $1 million or some like big amount of money?
By the way, that those photos are very crooked.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So scratch cards for Granny and Grandad.
I'm also going to get Granny a sorry for your loss card because, don't know.
Well, wait. Sorry for your loss. In regards to what, Herman?
She's
a long-suffering wife. I think we have to get off that.
She's been going on about getting a divorce when he turns 90. So.
Oh yeah.
Was that a joke?
Yeah. Well, yeah. That'd be funny if they did divorce, wouldn't it?
No,
at this age, it would be funny.
It wouldn't be funny because this doesn't make sense.
David, can I live with you for a while? Okay, Mom. Hi, Mom. She could be in the podcast every week.
Well, she can still be in a podcast. She doesn't need to get divorced to be in a podcast. You know.
Yeah, but if she was living here, you know.
Yeah, I don't think she would like to live here.
I'd love if Mother. I'd have to give her the big room upstairs. The big room. I have to sleep in the small.
They both tiny. I think your mom is used to like.
I think your mother.
My mother.
Your mother. That's what Hannah always says. Your mother. But it's the creepiest thing ever. Like if you're, at my age, in my 50s, thank God, living with your mother and you're inviting a girl home. Shh, keep quiet. Don't wake Mother. Can you imagine? Wait, what? What do you mean don't wake Mother? I live with my mother. Wait, shh, I can hear her. She wakes. Mother, I'd like you to meet a new friend of mine, Baba.
But you also have to speak really loud because the old people are very deaf.
Huh?
They can't hear anything.
Okay.
Say, Mother!
Okay, Anna, you've upset everyone. Here's the thing, right? So today we're doing a bit of a Ukraine special. A friend of mine, Johny O'Reilly, he's a film director, but he's also working freelance as a journalist, and he's in Kherson at the moment. So with everything in the news regarding Trump basically ambushing Zelensky in the Oval Office with JD Lickar Savants, I think it'll be interesting to know how it has affected the actual troops in Ukraine.
Listen, can I read the comment? Some of the who left the comment? Stephen Brennan Guitar.
Yeah.
From the last podcast, because you also attempted to do some political commentary. And then he said, David, love your stand-up. Don't give up the day job, though.
Yeah.
Political commentary is not for you.
You
should take it to your heart.
Oh shit, that's Johnny there.
Is he calling you or you?
No, I'm calling him. Johnny?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay,
yeah.
We've got you through the Bluetooth now, Johnny.
Cool, good.
Oh, so Johny, it's quite dark in there.
Is it too dark for you? Is it?
No, I'm just saying. Is it?
Well, they don't. I mean, I'm in Kherson city, and none of the neighbors like us to use a lot of lights because they fear it attracts FPV drones from the Russians. So we use minimal lights at night.
Yeah, but you could point whatever light source is there. You could point it towards your face, Johny. You're just trying to look dramatic.
Oh, do you want me to move to a light source?
Oh, well, no, fuck it. You're fine. I can see you. Jesus Christ. Where were you today?
Today we just went and filmed artillery men shooting off artillery from fields outside Kherson towards Russian positions.
Where is Kherson in Ukraine?
So Kherson is in southeast Ukraine. It's just kind of northwest of Crimea. It's a city about the same size as Cork, and it's on a very big river called the Dnipro. And on the other side of the river are all the Russian positions.
So how far away are you from the front line now?
Well, I'm about 1 mile from Russian positions.
But you were saying
so
yes.
The front line is the river, basically. The river separates Russian-held and Ukrainian-held, positions. And the river's about 200 or 300 meters wide.
So today you were with soldiers firing artillery in the direction of Russian troops.
Yes.
And were they fire? But I assume when they fire, they have to move their positions, do they?
No.
Yeah. What they do is they fire about 6 or 7 shots. In between each shot, there's about maybe 30 or 60 seconds for the drone operators to send them new coordinates to change the direction of their fire. And so after about 4 or 5 minutes, the Russian side are able to triangulate the position from which they're firing. So you get the what they call the answer. So as soon as a Russian incoming shell hits near your position, you need to scarper and move deep into the trench position.
So, but they don't move the actual artillery gun?
It's quite a cheap artillery gun, so it's not going to be something that the Russians would waste one of their very expensive pinpoint missiles on. So they don't need to move it every single time. But if you're sending off like a HIMARS missile, you've got to move out of there very quickly, because a HIMARS missile launcher is a high value target that they would spend a $3 million pinpoint accurate missile to take out, but they wouldn't use that on a cheap Russian or Soviet artillery, which is what we were using today.
This documentary that you're doing, that's why you're over there. Are you just waiting for the whole story to unfold?
Well, it's funny. I don't know if you know the breaking news, but Zelensky has agreed to a 30-day ceasefire. So that's just a different story, I guess. But their reaction was kind of shock, as it has been for many people around the world, and a fear that Trump might betray them. But like everyone else, we don't know. I mean, Trump has become this kind of worm inside everybody's brain, as everyone just thinks, how bad is he going to get? Is he trying to take over Mexico and Canada and give Putin exactly what he wants, so he gives Trump the green light to have his own zone of influence in the Western Hemisphere. So we don't know how crazy Trump is going to get.
You don't think Trump, Hannah, would invade Mexico and Canada, do you?
No, I don't think so. Unless they want to become part, like.
Yeah, which they.
I don't think
why
so.
would? Yeah. So like, this I just heard as I called you, I heard that Musk was threatening to withdraw Starlink from Ukraine.
Yeah, but he also wrote that I will never remove Starlink from Ukraine, nor would I ever threaten to do it. So there's so much noise out there about all these threats and social media kind of noise that makes a lot of people anxious. And of course, people here are anxious as well. But the big news is that Zelensky has agreed to a 30-day ceasefire. And what's important, I think, about that is that Trump went to Zelensky first and convinced him to agree to the terms of a ceasefire. And now they're putting it up to the Russians to agree the same terms. So if the Russians don't agree, the Russians are thereafter going to be under a lot of pressure because they will be seen as the people who are the impediment to peace. So it's quite an interesting turnaround of events, I think. But the news is so fresh. Literally, it just came a half an hour ago.
The Russians are an impediment to peace because they invaded the country in the first place. Hannah rolls her eyes up. Hannah, why do you think it's much more complicated than?
It is much more complicated than just Russians, invading a country, and there's a lot of geopolitical interests of United States.
Well, do you think NATO was a threat or is a threat to Russia, Johnny?
No, NATO is not a threat to Russia. I mean, NATO is a threat to Putin because he's made it so. But
you said earlier. The biggest threat to Russia.
The biggest threat to Russia is Putin himself. I mean, look what Putin has done to Russia in the last few years. He's pretty much turned it into a totalitarian state in which people are being thrown into prison for sharing a tweet.
So it was almost like trying to distract people and make NATO the issue.
He needs to create the conditions under which he is the only person who can keep the country together. And he does that by controlling the media and spreading a lot of lies, including a lie about NATO. Perfect example is people think that it was NATO which triggered Russia's response, while actually it was the other way around.
Russia's response, what year was that?
So in 2014 was the first invasion of Ukraine by Russia. So before that, NATO was never a talking point within Ukraine. In fact, there were polls that show that 80% of people were against Ukraine joining NATO at that point. But after Russia invaded Ukraine and took over Crimea, then people started to think that they needed NATO to protect them from Russia. So the problem is that Russia has always been invading countries in its vicinity, and when it does that, other countries feel that they need to join NATO in order to protect themselves. That's why Finland and Sweden recently joined NATO. They did it after February 22. The call for Ukraine to join NATO only happened because Russia invaded Ukraine. So there's obviously Russia is spreading this narrative that NATO was the original trigger for their invasion. But in fact, that's not the case.
What about Hannah's point that Ukraine really needs to maintain neutrality, Hannah?
I think so.
But how can you be neutral when you...
Neutrality, again, in the sense of not being military involved in any, in any part of the... so there is like a buffer zone between NATO and Russia. So Ukraine can join EU and economically...
Would Ukraine, I'm sure, be very happy to be neutral as long as their security was guaranteed? Isn't that the idea? So they want to maintain their independence, surely.
Yeah.
So, but if they were neutral, that would be under threat all the time, wouldn't it?
I'm not sure, but obviously the American troops they were already stationed, going towards Ukraine.
Okay, well, that's the other thing. That's
What it was? There was a nuclear missiles being positioned in Poland and moving towards Ukraine. That was apparently the biggest threat for Russia.
Nuclear missiles sort of slowly encroaching on Russia in Poland. Did you know about that, Johny?
Yeah, I know about that, but again, that's just used as an excuse for saber rattling on the Russian side. The Russians have nuclear missiles in submarines all over the world, and they travel to places that's kind of unknown. So everyone knows that the missiles that both Russia and Ukraine have can attack each other from any position geographically in the world. So it doesn't matter whether it's near or not near Russia.
Well, the United States wouldn't put up with Russia moving nuclear missiles in a neighboring or a nearly neighboring country. I mean, I think that's Hannah's point, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. But these aren't a quid pro quo whereby it's not as simple as that. Like, yeah, we put missiles here, therefore, you can put missiles there.
I'm not.
Ask me the specific question. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that, but we will be. There will be edits. Oh yeah. So the idea of this proxy war, which was basically the Americans fighting the Russians using Ukrainian troops, that's kind of now slightly debunked now because of the desire for Trump's desire to withdraw all assistance.
Well, it was never a proxy war. I mean, it was always a war to protect Ukraine from being overrun by Russia, which is what they tried to do in February 2022. And slowly but surely, the weaponry and the support came to Ukraine such that they could actually prevent Russia from taking the country over. So it wasn't like a proxy war between Russia and Ukraine, or as sometimes the Russians have propagandized it. Sorry, between Russia and America. Or, sometimes the Russians tried to propagandize it as a civil war between two tribes within the same country. No, look, the primary reason for the war was for Putin to
protect his power,
take control over a territory that was drifting towards democracy, which posed an existential threat to his authoritarian rule, his kleptocracy at home, show an example to the people living in that country of how you could possibly successfully live in a democracy. So he's always going to crush a democracy in countries on the edge of his territory, not because they pose a military threat to the country, but because he feels it as a political threat to himself personally, because his whole system of governance is built on lies and theft and corruption. So if you have a country that is similar in terms of ethnicity to that country, and that country develops democratically and economically, that's the threat that Ukraine poses Russia, because the Russian system is built on lies. It's built on control of the media, censorship, and kleptocracy.
I heard Macron talking about Putin being a threat to Europe, and that he's trying to get this nuclear shield and other countries to sign up to it or something, or to.
Look, I really don't believe that Putin wants to invade Europe.
On what? On the basis of?
I just don't think he wants to do it. I just think that he wants to establish his position. And I know he's totalitarian, but Russia is a different breed of people. And I think you have to let the country to have their own revolution. And I think like Johny said, which is probably true, that Putin is the biggest threat to Russia itself. But those people have to stand against Putin, and they would have to, and that's why the revolution starts. It cannot be that the Western world would come over to Russia, bomb it or whatever, and the regime changes and we have democratic country.
Yeah, it has to happen from within.
Never happened in any country.
Never worked. But do you think Putin is a threat to... I don't think he's in a position where he could invade other countries. Johny, what do you think?
And nowadays to invade, let's say, Poland and rule Poland is a really costly and impossible thing, because nowadays you're just taking on a lot of problems. Really.
So do you the way you were talking about, Johny, just to continue what Hannah's saying, and then I'd like you to come in, that there are lies on both sides. So that Hannah is saying there's no way Putin wants to expand into Poland or into other countries, and this stuff, maybe it's saber rattling from Macron's point of view.
No, I don't think he has the means to do it, nor would he have at the moment the aspiration to do it. But if somehow he was allowed to take over Ukraine, he would probably double the military resources that he has to hand. He would have huge armies of that he can throw into the meat grinder. At the moment, he's got like 12,000 North Korean soldiers. If he took over Ukraine, he would take over Ukraine's industrial base. He would double everything that the Russian army has at the moment. And that's the point at which the momentum towards expansion will be very hard to change, because he would have the kind of propaganda trajectory, in that having taken over Ukraine, upping the ante towards Europe means that Europe's going to invade what he controls both in Ukraine and
so
Russia.
Everybody's hands are
the only way he can prevent Europe from invading the zone that he controls, he has to invade them back. So that's the point at which he might go further than Ukraine. It's not like he's planning on doing it now. It's only A, if he has the means, and B, things get so out of hand that the propaganda twists into that kind of, naked imperial aspiration.
So what's the feeling, do you think? Do you think people are ready for the ceasefire in Ukraine? Do you think people are...
Yeah, they are. Look, here's what I think is the most likely thing that's going to happen here is that there will be some form of a peace, but it's going to be a very ugly peace. There was never going to be a pretty peace with ribbons after this war. Always just going to be either an ugly peace or the military war turns into a political war. And in some cases, the political war will feel worse because it's unclear as to who's doing what's happening. There's going to be so many more dynamics at play once you have elections, for example. Any potential economic progress that Ukraine can present will be a huge target for Russia, including, for example, civilian aviation. One of the big turning points in economic development for the country will be the return of Ryanair to Ukraine. All Russia needs to do is to knock out one of those civilian airplanes, and it'll knock back the economic development of the country by 2 years. So that's what's going to happen when you have a peace here. It's going to be ugly, confusing, and but less people are going to die. So it's definitely preferable than what's happening at the moment. Russia's going to do everything it can, even within the bounds of a peace treaty. It's going to do everything it can to prevent Ukraine from becoming economically successful, including the use of violence and, arms against that possibility.
Because a successful, independent Ukraine is a threat to Putin personally, because it shows the Russian
Yes.
people, oh, actually, look, there's a really good life if you have democracy and an open society and capitalism and or whatever.
Like, there's one argument that says that what Trump is trying to do is to deliver Putin a rhetorical victory, not a military victory, but a victory that he can proclaim through his propaganda channels that it was real. We are victorious. We got this land, and it was worth it. But if Ukraine looks like becoming an economic powerhouse, it's joining the EU, if it looks like it's having a real victory, then that doesn't feel like victory from the Russian perspective. So you're going to have a zero-sum game between who ends up being victorious, and that will have a political outcome for Putin and for Ukraine as well. So what, you ask, what do people hope for? What they hope for is a feeling, a sense of victory, and that means economic development and a sense of defeat for the other side.
So our our war correspondent in Kherson, Johny O'Reilly. Thank you, Johny, for giving us your opinion on this very important day. Thank you so much, Johny O'Reilly.
Okay, you're welcome, guys.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon,
night,
Johny. Thank you so much. Look after yourself.
Okay.
Cheers. What did you think of that, Jake? Sorry, go on, Jake.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's heavy stuff, some of it.
Yeah. Do you follow any? Do kids? Fuck's sake. Some people, I guess, follow the news and so on.
I would definitely 200%.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine though, Jake? Like, if you're living in Ukraine and they don't conscript in Ukraine. Is it conscription?
Oh, like men?
Yeah.
Oh, they were. I've met few men who escaped, paid to get out from Ukraine, because men until I think 55 were not allowed to leave the country. But a lot of them left.
We have to be very grateful, I guess, that we live in this island that's protected by these oceans, and we're not in the middle of some, big countries.
I was listening a lot to Jeffrey Sachs.
Yeah.
And he's not Russian propaganda. But what he said,
Where is he from and what's his qualifications?
I think he's American.
Yeah.
He's I think a professor of economy, and he helped Poland and a lot of Eastern European countries to recover economically or set up their financial systems after the collapse of communism.
Yeah.
So he knows a lot about Eastern European countries, and his knowledge is
he knows
quite
what he's
vast.
Okay.
And he participated a lot of negotiation, different various countries. Anyway, he said that nowadays in Europe there's enough resources and minerals and wealth that there's no need for any war in Europe.
Yeah.
Especially in Europe.
But can I just...
what he was saying as well, obviously Putin is totalitarian dictatorship, but he's one force. There's another force, which is America. Then it's Europe, who lost their identity, or geopolitics depends on United States, which weakens Europe enormously, because Europe as such has different ideas about life and politics, but follows and relies on United States.
And, this military industrial complex. There's nothing like that in Europe. And for Europe and for Europe to even gear itself up, or
they gave it up,
but they don't have that mentality.
But
like
they
the
gave it up.
But as much as they gripe and point at United States and slag it off, they suddenly realize, actually, what happens if the United? So it does change the balance of power and the world order. It does it, but I can't see how Europe would turn itself into a military might, like the United States of Europe. I don't know how that would happen.
Well, they don't need to be United States. They just need to build their own military and develop their own weapons. And apparently, if you have a well-developed military research, and
it's good for the economy.
It's the newest technology and props up the economy as well. Yeah.
Did you ever think about that, Jake or Daniel? Like, God, what would it be like to be, made to join an army and go through boot camp? And
yeah, well, I mean, when John was there, like comparing the size of towns to Ennis and Cork and stuff, I think it makes it very real visually.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. But can you imagine it, Jake? How old are you?
22, so 23 in 3 weeks. Actually.
But should there be lads like Jake?
Yeah.
Just sitting in these foxholes.
Yeah, I think it's
in these what do they call those things? The foxholes? No, the trenches. You know what I mean? And
Ukraine is like comparing to Ireland. Ukraine is.
It's so huge,
massive.
But can I also say, what is it kind of horrifying that these generals, these big dudes, and these governments, they sort of take advantage of young men and women and their desire to be patriotic and defend their country. They take advantage of that, and they put these young men on both sides in front of these. Like Johnny was talking about, these artillery weapons where human bodies, they're just obliterated. It's just like the meat grinder.
It sounds like First World War.
At the moment, yeah. And this the way the Russians wage war, they just kind of throw troops into the line of fire.
Yeah, we know Russians, but at the end, so the war goes on for 3 years. There's no gain for Ukrainians whatsoever. They actually lost. They're gonna lose the land, and their country is destroyed. So they have to rebuild everything, and it's sad. It's sad. 3 years.
Now what's ringing in my head is this comment that David, don't speak about politics or anything like that, because it's totally beyond your capability. But just because Jake and Daniel, I don't have the full facts at my fingertips as regards the historical reasons that we are in the position we are as regards the war in Ukraine and Russia, doesn't mean that I can't talk about it.
Yeah, you just have to find listeners, someone who wants to listen.
Which is no one. Okay, so let's talk about something else. Yes.
Well,
I was down in Carrick-on-Shannon in a place called the Landmark Hotel. I did a gig there, and I expected like free accommodation in the hotel, but they didn't. They charged me.
How much?
Well, they gave us one free room and one room I had to pay for.
Okay,
and then
so it's a good deal.
And then the next day, though, I needed a room just to hang out in because the gig was at 8 in the evening, and we're going to charge you a day rate for the fucking thing. So I had to pay £100.
Oh,
and then they charged me for food and everything. So like I had to pay like about 300 and something euro for the whole Landmark Hotel experience.
Well, was it worth it? I don't know. Well, I just want to say that I saw this amazing movie. It's called Vermiglio. It's a town in Italy. It's up in the Alps. And the film takes place during the last year of Second World War. It's like a really small village, Italian village. So, and the deserter, Sicilian guy, is coming to the village and changes the dynamics and what people think about it. But it's all placed of backdrop of Alps and the serenity and beauty of the village, and the acting is amazing. So if you watch this movie, I don't want to tell the whole story.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about the backdrop of the Alps and the serenity and so on. I think that's what's amazing about countryside or wildlife, or going scuba diving and seeing tropical fish, that there's totally they live out of time, out of place. They've got nothing to do with human history. We affect their environment. Okay, fuck off. I'm just saying that it's lovely just to be in a place that is just, there's no disagreement, there's no political, these tropical fish aren't trying to convince you of anything. They're not trying to say it's a proxy war. They're just doing their own thing. Yes. They exist, and it's like, I like to tune in to that. Thank you very
and
much.
Alps are there, and they there.
The Alps are there. The Alps are there like this. Look,
and they're not changing.
they're not changing. They're not kind of going, what are my pronouns? Well, I'm sorry, Alp. I identify as a fucking hill. No, you're a mountain. How dare you?
Yeah.
What are your pronouns, Daniel?
He, him.
So, but going back to that movie, you know, and seeing a movie which is like
what are your
so
pronouns,
beautiful,
Anna? Oh, yeah, okay.
Against the movies they were there during Oscars, like Anora or the other ones. You just don't
Fuck the
understand.
Oscars.
You don't understand.
I'm only saying that because I can't get a
kind
job.
of,
Don't talk at the same time. I'm only saying fuck the Oscars because I can't get a job and I can't get cast in films. Do you know why?
Why?
Because I'm shit. That's it. Okay, what about, are there any girls on the horizon, lads? Daniel, any girls? Jake, any girls? Why aren't you, are you not?
It's a girl.
Sorry, are there any women? Have you got your eyes set on women? Girlfriends. Do you want a girlfriend, Jake?
No.
Jake,
I'm impartial, really.
You're not pushed either way. If a situation,
I think when you go looking for these things, sometimes you can make bad decisions, maybe in rushing.
Yes.
Well,
and also
that's why we.
The
That's
law of attraction should maybe.
In other words, a love match happens when you least expect it.
Yes,
Hannah.
exactly.
I think there's wisdom.
And also, if you realize that you're not lacking anything in your life, then everything falls into place. And
but you do need to have a bit of confidence in yourself as
well.
I'm
just going to now. I've just made a decision that I'm going to ask every girl I meet to go out with them.
Oh my God, David!
And then then you've just asked hundreds.
You should actually record it. You asking girls to go out.
Yeah,
that would be funny.
But the good thing is, like, no matter how weird and you are, there's always someone for you. Like, there's some guy in Ennis, shall we say, big red-haired guy with a big Irish head in him. But you know, if he just goes out of Ireland and travels around India, sure, he might meet somebody from Mongolia or something.
Yes.
You know. But also, I would say that the Tinder, this thing, guys and girls are looking for some kind of perfection.
I fucking hate Tinder. And,
do you?
Just no time for it.
Well, and also it's like you're like a medieval king,
it's
based
so
on
weird.
whether you want to have sex with someone and their, physical features or whatever. You swipe left. No, so it's almost like they're dead to me. Dead. I will have sex. Dead. Like a lot of women I've had sex with, I have not been attracted to because people are imperfect, Hannah. Okay, so I would say stop looking for perfection and go out into the real world and have sex with unattractive people.
I found.
Okay.
I found what I was looking for.
Exactly, Jake. Boring.
Well.
Jake's on the fucking ball. I'll tell you that, boy. I'll tell you that. It's good he's back.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments for the thing?
For the podcast? Oh yeah, there's somebody said something also very funny about European army. It sounds like £2 shop. Yeah,
Euro army. It doesn't sound threatening, isn't it? It's like, look here. We are the European army, mister, and we will just about go over there and wave our finger at you if you don't back off. Brezhnev.
What was the name of that Russian spy? Sorry.
What? Yeah, Russian spy?
Daniel, you remember ex-KGB guy, and he was in interview I think in the 80s, and he was saying about sending spies into America, but
sleeper cells.
That they be sent and they gonna infiltrate American society in a way that the people, they're not gonna turn against their country immediately, but it will take few generations.
Yes, I've seen that.
Americans will start being ashamed of being Americans.
Yeah.
And that is gonna destroy the country from inside.
Yeah, they start dividing. It kind of looks like it's happening now, doesn't it? Yeah. So
they start having this.
I'm so confused about Trump because, as a comedian, I do find him quite, I find him quite fascinating. I mean, just to watch him, there's something quite
He's an entertainer.
Yeah, well, he was an entertainer for a long time. But I hope everything he's doing proves to be a positive, good for the world.
I think there's a change in American policy. They're not doing the good for the world, and I don't know if they ever really did.
But it's just those superlatives. The way he talks. He just makes these wild promises. We're going to drain the ocean. We're going to drain. We're going to drain the oceans. We're going to drain the oceans. We really are. We're going to turn the whole world into a big golf course. We're going to play golf everywhere. It's just going to be the Atlantic golf course. It's going to be great. There's going to be lots of land, and there's going to be lots of land. What I'm trying to think. And there'll be no refugees because there'll be everywhere to go. You can just go wherever. There'll just be way more land than we've ever had before.
America has enormous amount of land. That's true.
Yes. We're gonna create apps, and you'll be able to tell the vaginal temperature of Melania. You'll be able to tell what the temperature of her vagina is 24 hours a day. Thank you, Elon Musk, as I like to call him.
He's in a big trouble.
The musketeer. I'm trying to I can't go on. Anyway, what's going on? Oh, you found love. Well, fucking big deal. And it's very disrespectful, especially for me, Jake, and Daniel, because we are involuntarily. We're voluntarily.
Yeah.
I'm an incel. You're a V-cell. I'm an incel battery. Daniel, are you an incel or a V-cell?
He's a vegan.
He's a vegan. Are you a vegan or are you a voluntarily celibate?
Involuntary.
Well, we don't know. Jake's probably he's playing his cards very close to his chest. He's not revealing exactly.
I think Jake is pretty happy. He looks very content.
Yeah, he's a lot happier than you are. You're just the minute you walk into a room, everyone starts crying. Have you noticed that?
No.
Yeah. Actually, they should hire you. You know, there was that great film. It was called The Cooler with William H. Macy. Do you know it?
I don't know.
So it's such a great film, guys. You have to see it. So this guy was
old movie, sir.
Yeah, old. Well, for them, yes. For you, relatively recent. All right. So but anyway. So William H. Macy is such a miserable. He's such a loser. He's such a mush that if he walks into a casino, people immediately start losing. And I think it's a true story. So this guy would just show up. And he'd just stand there at the roulette table, and then just everybody would go, "What the fuck?" And he'd go, "I don't know." But there are certain fucking people,
yes,
who just suck the fucking life out of. They just walk up to you, and you can see the shite little idea creeping out of their head down to their mouth, and they're. So, have you ever done something? Get away, you fucking vampire! Saps. But anyway, it is that sappiness or that almost kind of, the way where you meet certain people, they restore your faith in humanity, and there are other people who, what's the opposite? They're just like, and it's just like amazing. But it's kind of like a superpower. I've seen some comedians go on stage, and it's like, there might be comedy there, but with the skill of a fucking ninja, they avoid it so perfectly, and it's kind of like, it's almost as good as being it's like as good as being good. Like being that bad is quite a skill.
But you have to be really bad to be really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what's going on, Jack and Daniel? What are you doing? So we're going me, Jake, Daniel, Hannah, Granddad's 90th, Dad's 90th.
Yeah. We're gonna take it on.
He'll make a speech. Well, as former Minister for Foreign Affairs.
David, I just have to say, when I first met you, it was like quite a long time ago, and I went to eat dinner at your place.
I think
it was like 1993. Okay.
Yeah, and when Daniel was a baby.
And Daniel was a baby.
And we went to Black
Rock. So your dad was and you always sat like this. Your dad was at the top of the table. On his left side was your mom. On the right side, you were sitting as an eldest child. Then was Barry, then was married. On the other side was Sinead, and I was at the bottom of the table, and Daniel was pushed out outside the door. There was double door, glass double door. So we put you outside the room.
Yes.
But anyway, you were really tiny.
Yes.
And you
Do you remember that, Daniel? Do you?
And we had the butler and the cook and the scullery maid.
I know, and you were all trying to be very, like politically aware and.
Yeah, but I mean, anyway, God love them all. God
I
love them all.
I was really privileged.
Yeah. And I know they sort of, they had their traditions and ways of doing things, and that sort of sense of propriety. And I assume that's how Dad was brought up, and Mom would have been brought up the same. They'd sit down. You'd have a family dinner every night, I guess. And there'd be a long table. Dad would sit. If he wasn't working, Dad would sit there. Whatever. I don't know. Did we have? No, we didn't have family dinner every evening.
I don't know.
No, I think we definitely did we had Sunday dinner. And then, when we were kids, when we were growing up, we'd have dinner at a certain time, when we were growing up. But, these lads, they just, sit there and just have a bowl of cornflakes in front of the fucking TV. Shut up, man, will you? Give me the fucking burger. Jake, don't talk to your mother like that. Shut up, or they will slap you up, you fucking McGregor. Okay.
See McGregor's at Limp Bizkit tonight. He announced he's going to be in the mosh pit. Limp Bizkit are like this big band.
God, wouldn't you love if
arena.
If a couple of people threw him a few digs?
Listen, he's invincible. No matter what happens, he bounces back. He's like that guy you're doing. Never's gonna sink.
Who's the
in
guy?
In the ocean. You.
Oh yes, the chirpy dog. Okay, folks, thank you so much for this Ukraine special. I'm sure there will be more comments, but that's the great thing about more negative comments about what you've seen if you've watched it. But that's the great thing about open discourse and freedom of expression. That's, I guess, one of the reasons people fought so valiantly during World War II.
It's funny, like World War II was much more clear, we want to have a villain and a good person.
And of course, if people do support Putin and Russia, they should go, that's the great thing about living in a democracy. Who's the leader of Ireland at the moment? Michael Martin.
Micheál Martin? I
can say Micheál Martin is a load of shit. He's an asshole and he's a waste of time and he should fuck off. I can say that publicly. I might not agree with it or disagree, but I'm just showing the Russian people what freedom sounds like. I mean, if we were doing this podcast in Russia, and that's why we're not together. Vladimir Putin, they'd be
But
go to Siberia. I'd love you to go to Siberia.
That last year, 2024, there were 3,000 people imprisoned in UK for wrong tweets.
Well, they're pretty.
3,000. It's more than in China.
Well, I get very upset with tweets. They should be sent to. No, but look, anyway, Hannah, if you did get sent to a working camp in Siberia, I definitely would write to you from time to time. Now, okay, so Daniel and Jake, thank you so much. I hope you meet some beautiful ladies at some stage this next few days. Hannah?
I've already found.
Yeah, okay.
Stay away from
There's a fine line between a relationship and a hostage situation. Okay, thank you, folks. See you next week. Go on.